Life can be fast-paced, strenuous, and flat-out overwhelming. Life transitions and taboo topics can make it hard to catch your breath. Welcome to Breathe, a podcast that enables you to slow down, get your bearings, and engage in real conversations where no topic is off limits. Breathe is presented by Breath of Life, hosted by David Person and speaker-director Pastor Debleaire Snell.
Welcome to Breathe. I'm David Person. It's good to be here with you once again for another episode of this great podcast. Well, we have been on an interesting journey, starting with last week's episode, talking about finances and holiday spending and so forth with our friend Lamont Dupree with stewardshipofwealth.com. We're going to continue our conversation now with Lamont. This is part 2 of what will be a 3-part conversation. So hang in there with us. I think you'll find that the information is extremely valuable. Let's talk now for those who may not really know. How do you construct a budget?
Yeah.
Well, I think you start out, just in general, you want to make sure that you know how much is coming in. You kind of line up how much you have, what your obligations are. And this is one thing that's important. You want to put your need budget first, the budget items first. So that's your 4 walls, your food, your clothing, or the civics class, right? Your food, clothing, housing, transportation, and utilities. You want to make sure all those things are on the front, are front loaded. And then once you get those things front loaded, then you decide what else you need, what else are those priorities. And then the thing that's at the end is what are those, those wants? What are those things that you may want to do? And if it's in the budget, you make it happen. And one thing that I tell people, if you last year we said we weren't going to do a lot of stuff, right? I'm not going to do it again. At the end of Christmas, I know I'm not going to do it again. Well, listen, this is an opportunity right now. It's not too late. I know it's just a couple of weeks away, but you can still make a decision not to do the thing you said you were not going to do last year. And just go ahead and shift and say, okay, if you didn't save for this time, this season from last year to now, it's okay. Just live within your budget, live within your means, and say next year I'm going to start January 1 and start saving each month so I can have a surplus to spend on Christmas and the holidays.
Okay.
So getting back to, and that's great advice, that whole idea of planning ahead and making sure that's a part of your thought process.
Christmas is the same time every year.
It does. I can't believe it's again. It's December every year.
Go
I did want to piggyback on something. When you talked about the budget, you used the term, because you talked about your needs, right? And those 5 that you gave there as a category, but you talked about obligations. And the obligations sometimes may be things you just want, but if you signed up for cable and you have a 12-month contract,
right,
you kind of have to pay that bill. So that needs to be, it's not necessarily a need, but it is an obligation. So I just wanted you to kind of double click on that if you can. There's kind of almost 3 categories, if you will, because now you've signed up,
right?
You're obligated. Yeah. So even though it may be a quote unquote want,
right,
but now I'm beholden, right? If you have that car payment, you can't say, well, this is not a need this month. You've got to make that car payment.
You got to. So that would fall under that transportation and car insurance, all those things.
Right.
And like you said, those are subscriptions.
Yeah.
And you want
subscriptions.
And the way that you can save some money is, okay, I'm not going to have Netflix or something and
Hulu
cut out that.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the money I'm going to save for next season. And that's an option.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
Because you don't see Netflix as a necessity.
Oh, mercy.
A lot of people that would disagree with you.
I know there are some people that would disagree.
So you interfering with my Netflix and chill.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry, Dave.
Man, this holiday season, we begin some tough truth.
I'm telling you.
Quick question. So as you filter through financial priorities. Should we as parents or just families in general prioritize gifts more than experiences? or experiences more than gifts? Like, what is your thought
Really good
around that?
question.
Because that may drive some of the financial decisions along the way.
Well, I would ask the question, what do you remember most? What do you remember most about the holiday
Yeah,
season?
I remember the experience.
It's the experiences.
Yeah.
It's, there are very few gifts that I have a recollection of, maybe a bike here or a specific thing, but
even
it's
those-
the smell of the house. It's the music.
Yeah.
It's
The people.
merriment, the people.
Yeah.
Like those are the things that are etched in memory.
Even the gifts that I remember, it's because of the experience surrounding
Surrounding
the
it,
gift,
right.
right? So like all of us got the Nintendo, the whole. It was my set of my siblings and another set of cousins. We got one Nintendo for all of them, and it was just epic. But I remember
so the gifts that brought you back in contact with people are the ones that kind of tend to stick out.
That's it.
And so I mean, for me, I remember, this is going to date me now, but I remember stringing popcorn, to put on the tree with my older sister back in the day.
Come on.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember what we got that year for Christmas.
No.
But I remember, because there are pictures of us in the tree doing the, and I remember my mom cooking in the kitchen and like you said, the smells and all that kind of stuff. I don't remember the things that we received. And so definitely if you pay more attention and give more priority to the experiences, where a child remembers, hey, my parent sacrificed and they did something for me.
Yeah.
Or, we went and did something for someone else.
Yeah.
I remember giving a gift to someone that, needed this thing or, we were able to give. So I think that's something that's important. And I also would say that it's important. This is an opportunity right now to set some guidelines and some guideposts for your children.
Yeah.
Because if you can begin to help them understand that you are more than a receiver, but this is an opportunity to be a giver. And you emphasize that, then that's something that can go with them, that's going to be a life lesson that they can take on and hopefully even create a legacy for their children and for your family.
I've heard of people who actually budget giving into their life. They'll set aside a certain percentage of their income every month just for giving.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about beyond, tithes and
tithe
offerings.
right.
But, charitable giving or giving to help someone that they may come across who has a need.
Yeah, I've heard of that. And I think that's extraordinary to be able to just say, okay, we're going to give and trying to find now the mission becomes who can we help?
Who can we help?
Yeah, because you have the money now, so it's actually sort of reversed. Now I've budgeted the money. The money's here. Now who do I help?
Who do I help?
And I think that's a really great space to be in. I also love what you said earlier in terms of kind of setting the expectations for the family and the kids, but also just kind of bringing them into the financial conversation. This is what the outlook of for us is right now, and having that conversation. I know my parents had that a couple times with us.
But how far did they go though? Did they actually tell you like this is what mommy and I make?
Oh yeah.
They told you the whole thing.
In fact, this was back when checkbooks were being balanced in the ledger. But, they had us all take a turn and balance the checkbook and actually write checks and put it in the envelope and send it off to pay bills and stuff like that. So they brought us in very early.
Do you advise that kind of transparency from parents?
I think it makes sense because I know we grew up in the era where it's like you don't ask nobody how much they make and your parents didn't tell you how much they make.
That's right.
But I think it makes sense to be able for that child to know. Listen, this is how money works, and I think. As a culture, it becomes important for us to kind of rip the veil off of, what living really costs. For our children to understand it. And where you see that being able to, where you can, each family has to make their own decision.
Exactly.
And understand the maturity of their child and understand, where they are and that kind of thing. But I think that makes sense. I like it.
Yeah. I won't like that. It left an indelible impression for me, just to seeing the whole process and then seeing what was left.
Right.
and you're not asking for stuff anymore. Right?
I know how much they have left. So
Let me.
I get it.
Let me be real about this.
How old were your parents how old were you? I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, about 8, 9, 10.
Oh, that's
Oh wow, that's serious.
Oh yeah, it was.
Okay.
I mean, because at a certain point, we didn't really, when we got into high school and we just weren't interested. But 8, 9, 10, you still had you still listened basically to everything mom and dad say you're gonna do, and but yeah, it really did help, and it set precedence for how my wife and I manage what we do as well. Yeah. So yeah, you're leaving a legacy essentially at that point. Yeah.
Exactly.
I think I know the answer to this question, but is it ever okay to, kind of, do the credit card thing? Maybe it's a little tight. Maybe the financial margins are a little narrow. Is it ever okay if you can kind of pay it off and hustle it off in the new year to finance Christmas via credit card? And if not, what are the dangers and what's the why behind saying, no, we probably shouldn't do that?
Well, it's a slippery slope because it becomes it can be you have to know yourself. And I know some people that very responsibly use credit cards. And they pay them off at the end of the month. They want to get the points, and they have this whole system. And I'm like, I'm not that disciplined to be able to just, know how to get this card for this. And so some people know how to do that, very disciplined. And if that's your lot, then continue. Again, it shouldn't be a new thing.
Okay.
I'm thinking if
Christmas.
Right.
Don't let it be the holiday pressure that you now are going to, let me get this card. And then, because oftentimes if it was not in your financial philosophy before, don't add it now.
Yeah.
Wow. Because this is probably the worst time to try to add a new financial discipline because of all the other things that surround that. And so you may make the wrong decision or make an impulsive buy, and now you in your mind, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be able to pay this off. But what happens if whatever that thing is that you said you're anticipating happening doesn't happen?
Doesn't happen. Yeah.
What if your hours at work get cut? What if something happens that now the thing that you were going to use to pay it off, that something else that more important came? The washing machine went out, or you had a higher than
so true.
You thought utility bill or something else happens.
That happens.
Because you never know what it's going to be in the winter.
No, you don't.
Never know what it's going to be.
True.
Yeah.
And so I would caution someone, again, trying to do something new like that, especially during this time of year.
Which brings up, I think, another key point as it relates to budgeting, and that is that it's many experts recommend that you budget an emergency fund.
Yeah.
And I see you shaking your head, so I can tell you agree with that.
Oh yeah. That's personal finance 101. You want to have an emergency fund so that if anything does happen, you don't have to worry about it or be overly concerned, because you do have some money set aside for that reason. And ideally, a fully funded emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of living expenses. But even even if you can put away $100 or $1,000 or $500 or whatever, most emergencies can be within $1,000 range, can probably be handled.
So true.
Yeah. So if you can just have that little amount that's not attached to your regular bank account, that's at a some place where you can't necessarily easily access it. It could be not at your main bank, but maybe another bank, or maybe not the main account, but maybe there's another account, so that you don't just have easy access to it. It makes a difference.
Lamont Dupree with stewardshipofwealth.com, dropping some real knowledge about finances and budgeting, and just really good advice, and advice you can use year-round. I say we can use year-round, but especially during the holiday season, when the temptation to overspend and to overextend ourselves on credit can be pretty high. So hope you're taking notes. Hope you are getting something out of these conversations. We're going to go to part 3 next week, next time on Breathe, for Pastor Debleaire Snell and also for Pastor Kirk Nugent. God bless you, and don't forget, no matter how challenging life may be, even with finances, you can always stop, pray, and breathe.
Breathe is produced by David Person for Breath of Life. Executive producer is Debleaire Snell, and sound engineer is Kirk Nugent. Audio episodes of Breathe can be found on Apple, Spotify, or Google podcast platforms. For video episodes and extra content, check out the Breath of Life YouTube channel. Breath of Life is faith-based content, resources, and programs from a contemporary urban perspective for those looking for hope and guidance. We believe that every breath we take is a testimony that God is consistent, that He loves us, and has a plan for our lives.